welcome to AutoCAD 101. My name is Michael Lane. I'm going to do a number of lectures on AutoCAD, kind of from how to get started and some neat tricks to do. I had some students that I used to have request this. If you're new to AutoCAD, if you haven't started it before, AutoCAD, once it's been loaded, I'm assuming you're either in a school situation or at a business, you've probably got it loaded. If you're a student, you may have to load the student version yourself, but I'm sure the faculty there can help you. But you'll end up somewhere on your desktop, you'll end up with an icon that looks something like this. Yours may be AutoCAD 2017, 18, 16, but it'll still be a big A, big red A. And just double click that to start. It'll go through a boot up routine. Unfortunately, that's on I'm using multiple screens, so it's on another screen right now. But it's just a big, pretty picture of AutoCAD saying, "Hey, look at the neat stuff you can draw." Once that finishes, it'll bring up the AutoCAD interface. There we go. I say a lot. You've got what are called tool panels across the top. We also have some pull downs. It's kept the old file pull down location for Windows, which has the file names and opening and saving and all that stuff. You'll notice it has some previous drawings shown as well. You probably just have a couple that look like this. These are some sample drawings. We're going to create assignment 1 today. But let's click on one just to get started so you can see how the interface works. So just double click. You're going to get this thing because these are archive drawings, so they're saved as a read-only file, but just hit yes. This is an AutoCAD drawing. Your cursor may look a little different than this. Mine goes all the way across the screen. Yours is probably a little white plus sign. Well, I'll show you how to fix that later. But that's just one of the many things that you're allowed to customize with AutoCAD. With your mouse, and it's helpful if you have a 3-button mouse, not an absolute necessity, but it makes life much easier. This middle button is real useful. If we hold that middle button down, hold it down and then move back and forth, that's called a pan. If we scroll it back and forth, we're doing a zoom. Yay! You're probably used to this from other software. We can actually do that from the command line, which is down here. If we type Z for zoom, and the full command is actually zoom, we can then do the same thing. We can zoom in. The nice thing about the zoom as a command is we have these options: all, center, dynamic, extents, previous, scale, window, or object. We could, if we hit W for window, and you notice it's always the blue letter, so W, we can put a window around what we want to zoom to. If I do zoom and P for previous, it takes me back to where I just was. If I hit zoom and extents, it takes all the drawing stuff and fits it in the middle of our screen as much as possible. All's pretty much similar to that. There's a little bit of a difference. We'll discuss why later. Centers the drawing. Scale, you can give it a scale factor. But for the most part, those are the kind of things that it works. Now you'll notice that when you start typing zoom, it shows all the other commands that start with Z. Z itself, if I just hit enter now, will start the zoom command. That's called a command alias. Most people call them shortcuts. We're going to learn how to make our own command aliases later. But for now, remember the whole command being zoom, Z-O-O-M. This will become important later. We're going to learn to make icons, but to do that you have to know the real full command, not just the command alias, not that the shortcut. And we can make these icons that do more than just one command. We can make them do quite a bit. So they can be very, very useful. There are icons for zoom and pan up in here too, but like I said, you're probably always going to just be using the scroll button and holding the middle button down to pan. Zoom previous is useful. I use that one a lot. Zoom extensive can be useful as well. But that's about it for just let's looking at a file. Let's now go make one. So we need to go close this. So we go up to the A. And we don't need to save it because one is going to give us trouble anyway. But we'll just come down here to close. It's still going to prompt us, but tell it no. Now we'll go back up to the A and we'll go new. And that brings up the template dialog box. Templates are basically an AutoCAD drawing that's got the settings you want in it already. ACAD DWT is the default one. Later we're going to modify that as we learn different things, and we'll put them in there so they're always handy and ready for us to use. So by the end of the class, we'll have a pretty useful template file. If you go between locations, this might be a file you want to back up and take with you. A lot of times, different IT people will not let you, write over each time. Well, each time you load AutoCAD, it's going to load it up as a blank file, so you won't get to keep all that stuff. Depends on how your IT department is. The nice thing about AutoCAD is if you don't use the template, you can always open an existing drawing, immediately do a save as, and you're good to go too. But anyway, we'll use AutoCAD.dwt and hit open. And we get a brand new blank drawing. Yay! First thing, let's go and call it File, and we'll do Save As, and we're going to, let's put it someplace. Your directory is going to be different than mine. I'm going to put mine in my Documents directory under my name. Your instructor will tell you where to put it. I've got a temp directory. We'll put it here. I'm going to call it Assignment 1. And the 0 is helpful because it makes it stack better. And then hit save. And I've already got one already because I've been setting up to do this today. So I'm going to hit yes. You won't have to do that. Now, let's do a little bit more than just pan and draw. Let's go use the line command. You'll notice this is the draw palette. We've got a number of different things we can draw. If we click down, we can find even more objects and we can play with those. And I'm going to let you play with those here in a minute. But for right now, we're going to draw a line. We could click this icon, but the actual command is line. Wow, AutoCAD's really confusing there, isn't it? And it wants a start point and an end point. If we knew the shortcut for line is L, but if we knew, let's say, how far over we want to go, we could either watch that little thing scrolling along with 64ths and 30 seconds, or we could just say, I want to go 24 inches in that direction, hit enter, and it's gone 24 inches. Now that line may look like it's flat, but if we zoom in really close, you'll find it's not. To get a truly flat or up and down line, you have to turn on what's called the ortho, because AutoCAD will let you draw in any direction, or it can limit you to the 0, 90, 180, and 270 axis. The way to turn ortho on is the F8 key at the top of your keyboard. If you hit F8, you'll notice now you're limited to just those directions. Another thing you'll notice, I'm going to turn the ortho back off now, is when you come on over another object, like one of these lines, the little green boxes show up at the ends. Those are called object snaps, or OSnap for short. This is another one of the function keys that you can turn on and off. Like, let's say I really wanted to draw to this point on the line. If I click there right now, look what whoops. Normally, that wouldn't have happened. let's try it again. Normally, it complains and goes to the end point of the line anyway, like that. Thanks a lot, guy. It's like taking your car to the mechanic. It never makes a sound. So we go to line. So if we wanted to put it to this point, what we can do is hit the F3 function button up at the top of the keyboard, and that turns this O-snaps off. You'll notice it actually tells you that down here at the bottom. O-snap off. And if I hit F8, you notice it tells me ortho on. These toggle on and off, so it's fairly simple to use. Let's go, oh, I didn't mean to draw all these. Let's get rid of them. Erase is the command. E is the shortcut. When you go to erase something, you can pick things one at a time. The other option you have, like if you don't pick on an object, it'll give you two different type windows depending if you go to the right or to the left. To the right is what's called a selection window. It'll only pick the things that are completely inside of it. The other, well, here's an example. Watch, we'll use the selection window to pick just that one line. The other is what's called a crossing window. If we go from right to left, any object that is enclosed or crossed by a crossing window will be selected. So now when I hit enter, all those items will disappear. So that's kind of the difference between a selection window and a crossing window. But let's say we want to draw a line that goes from here over 3 feet and up 2 feet. Well, I suppose I could turn my ortho on and go 3 feet, and the apostrophe is the foot mark. I don't have to put the inches. And now I can go up 2 feet. And oops, I can't see where I am, so I'll use my middle button to scroll back some, and I can pan to the middle. Now I can actually draw the line I wanted in the first place. Oops, my O-snap's not on. I'll have to use my F3 button to turn it on. And now I can erase those two lines. Well, that was a pain in the bottom. Let's get rid of that. Instead, let's do it this way. Line, if we hit 3 feet, comma 2 feet, or 24, we could even put 24 inches here. Notice that it does it for you. AutoCAD uses Cartesian coordinates. It uses an x-axis, which is the first number, and a y-axis. If I had done the same thing and gone 2 feet, comma 3 feet, I would have got a different line because that's 2 feet over and 3 feet up. The first number is always the sideways direction. We'll talk about that more later. In previous versions of AutoCAD, and we're talking 4 or 5 versions before, you had to type an @ sign in order to do this. Otherwise, it would snap to an actual coordinate location based off of 0, 0 in your space. That's not the case anymore. It's a little bit easier now. So that's the good thing. For the rest of right now, for this rest of this lecture, start playing with some of these other things. Some of them are fairly simple. Circle, you pick a middle, pick out where you want it to be. You can also pick a middle and tell it like 24, and now I have a circle with a 24-inch radius. We've got arcs, ellipses, a whole bunch of other stuff. So play with some of that, get used to the interface today, and that's all you have to do. Thanks. Bye.